When the supply chain collapsed in 2020, families with these 15 canned foods barely noticed. Everyone else panicked. Here's what's terrifying. Most pantries are missing at least 11 of these, and the gap between prepared and desperate is smaller than you think. Black beans might just be the most underrated item in your entire grocery store. One can deliver 15 grams of plant protein and 15 grams of fiber. That's more nutritional punch per dollar than almost anything else sitting on those shelves. Here's what I love about them. While dried beans demand overnight soaking and hours of babysitting on the stove, canned black beans are ready in seconds. Drain, rinse, done. Your grandmother had patience for that slow-cooking nonsense. Most of us don't. And that rinsing step? It's not just about convenience. Running water over canned beans removes about 40% of the sodium. Simple trick, huge difference. Now, let's talk money. Aldi sells their Pueblo Lindo brand for around 69 cents per can. But Costco? Their Kirkland organic black beans drop to about 50 cents each when you buy in bulk. That's organic protein for less than a pack of gum. The shelf life is ridiculous too. We're talking 3 to 5 years. And unlike some other canned legumes that turn to mush over time, black beans actually hold their texture. They stay firm. They stay usable. Versatility is where things get interesting. Soups, tacos, salads, rice bowls. Mash them up, and you've got a budget-friendly meat substitute for burgers that even my skeptical brother-in-law couldn't complain about. But black beans are just the foundation of a well-stocked pantry. There's another canned staple that Italian cooks have argued about for generations, and it forms the base of at least 30 classic dishes. San Marzano tomatoes have a cult following. And honestly, it's deserved. These Italian beauties grow in volcanic soil near Mount Vesuvius, which gives them lower acidity and sweeter flesh than regular tomatoes. Chefs obsess over them for good reason. But here's what most people don't realize. That 14.5-ounce can sitting in your pantry? It counts as 2 full vegetable servings according to USDA guidelines. 2 servings from 1 can. Now the really interesting part, Hunt's and Del Monte process their tomatoes within 6 hours of picking. 6 hours. Meanwhile, those fresh tomatoes at your grocery store have been sitting around for days, sometimes weeks. The canning process actually locks in more lycopene than fresh tomatoes lose just traveling to the store. So canned beats fresh. My grandmother would have loved knowing that after all those years of apologizing for using canned tomatoes in her Sunday sauce. Want the best deal? Walmart's Great Value diced tomatoes run about 78 cents per can. They consistently perform well in blind taste tests against fancy brands charging double. Your taste buds genuinely can't tell the difference. The fire-roasted variety deserves special mention too. It adds smoky depth to chili and soup without you lifting a finger for extra seasonings. These cans form the foundation for at least 30 classic dishes. Spaghetti sauce, shakshuka, homemade salsa, soup bases. Speaking of versatile pantry staples, the next item delivers serious protein for pocket change. And it swims. A few months ago, I had no idea what a health ring even was until my fiancé got me one. And I have to say, I am shocked this isn't a widely known and used product. It tracks my stress levels, and what I found out is that each time I took certain medication, my body's stress levels went up 2 to 3 times my usual levels. So I immediately stopped taking that medication, and I can honestly say this made me feel 10 years younger. My wife mainly uses it to track her menstrual cycles, and she is obsessed with her sleep quality score. I noticed they were running a limited 69% discount, but the offer is expiring soon. It's currently only $60, and it's clear this one is the best bang for your buck, with other health rings priced around $350 with less functions. They managed to price it this low because they cut out the middleman like Amazon, Walmart, etc., who drive up the price and take a big margin, ending up with the customer paying 3 to 5 times more. If you are on TV, you can check it out yourself by pausing the video and scanning the QR code with your phone camera or clicking the first link in the description of this video. A single 5-ounce can of chunk light tuna delivers about 25 grams of protein for roughly $1. That's cheaper per gram than chicken breast, which everyone thinks is the budget protein king. It's not. But here's where most people mess up. They grab albacore because white tuna sounds fancier. Big mistake if you're eating it weekly. Chunk light comes from skipjack and contains about 3 times less mercury than albacore. Your doctor won't tell you this at your checkup, but I will. Now, the oil versus water debate. Water-packed has fewer calories, sure. It also tastes like you're eating fish-flavored cardboard. Tuna packed in olive oil stays moist, has richer flavor, and honestly, feels like actual food. The extra 30 calories won't break your diet. The weird part? Canning actually makes the omega-3 fatty acids more bioavailable than some fresh preparations. So that fresh is always better rule your health nut cousin keeps preaching doesn't apply here. Costco's Kirkland albacore runs about $2.50 per can in the 8-pack. That's roughly 30% cheaper than grocery store equivalents for wild-caught, water-packed quality. Not sponsored, just obsessed with saving money. Americans consume about 1 billion pounds of canned and pouched tuna every year. That makes it the second most popular seafood after shrimp. We're a nation of tuna salad lovers, and honestly, there's no shame in that. Speaking of seafood that deserves more respect, wait until you hear what canned chicken breast can actually do. Canned chicken breast is the unsung hero hiding in plain sight. Here's what makes it different from tuna. It shreds naturally. Pull it apart with a fork, and you've got something that looks and feels like rotisserie chicken without the trip to the store or the greasy hands. Swanson and Hormel cook their chicken at high temperatures during the canning process. That means it's fully safe to eat straight from the can. No microwave needed, no stove. Just open and go. Costco's Kirkland version runs about $2.50 per 12.5-ounce can. And the ingredient list? Just chicken and sea salt. That's it. No weird broth. No mystery fillers. No ingredients you'd need a chemistry degree to pronounce. Here's the math that matters. 1 can equals roughly the same amount of meat as a whole chicken breast. Fresh chicken lasts maybe 3 days in your fridge before it starts smelling like regret. Canned chicken? 3 to 5 years on the shelf. My grandmother kept emergency cans in her basement that probably survived Y2K. Now here's something most people waste without thinking. That liquid in the can isn't just packaging juice, it's concentrated chicken broth. Save it for cooking rice or making gravy. Pouring it down the drain is like throwing away free flavor. Dollar General stocks 10-ounce cans for around $3. Important for folks living in food deserts where fresh chicken is harder to find than a parking spot at Costco on Saturday. Speaking of protein that comes from the water instead of the land, canned salmon has a secret that most people throw away. Those soft little bones? Completely edible. And here's the kicker. They contain more calcium per serving than a glass of milk. We're talking about 180 milligrams in just half a can. Your skeleton literally thanks you for being too lazy to pick them out. But wait, it gets better. Wild-caught Alaskan salmon in cans often comes from more sustainable fisheries than that fresh Atlantic salmon sitting pretty at the fish counter. The fancy stuff at the supermarket? frequently farmed. The humble can on your shelf? Often wild and better for the ocean. Life's funny like that. Trader Joe's sells wild pink salmon for around $3.29 per can. Aldi's Northern Catch brand runs about $2.50 for similar quality. Either way, you're getting incredible nutrition without a seafood restaurant bill. That deep pink color isn't just pretty. It indicates higher astaxanthin content, a powerful antioxidant that supports heart health. The brighter the pink, the better the goods. My grandmother made salmon patties every Friday during Lent. One can stretch to feed 4 people when mixed with breadcrumbs and eggs. Depression-era cooking at its finest. And honestly, still delicious today. Here's what really sets salmon apart from tuna. Mercury concerns are virtually non-existent. You can safely eat it several times per week without worrying about heavy metal buildup. Your brain and heart get the omega-3s they crave. Speaking of healthy fats, there's a creamy tropical option coming up that might surprise you. Coconut milk in a can might be the most underrated pantry item in America. Most people walk right past it, thinking it's only for Thai curries. Big mistake. Full-fat canned coconut milk contains medium-chain triglycerides, a fancy term for fats your body burns like rocket fuel instead of storing around your waistline. Your body literally treats these fats differently than the stuff in butter or cheese. Here's a trick that blew my mind the first time I tried it. Stick a can in the refrigerator overnight. The next day, open it up, and you'll find the solid cream has risen to the top, completely separated from the water. Scoop that out, whip it for 2 minutes, and you've got dairy-free whipped cream that tastes incredible on pie. Thai Kitchen at Target runs about $2.50 per can. But here's the thing. Walmart's Great Value version costs around $1.50 and performs almost identically in every recipe I've tested. Save your money. Unlike that carton coconut milk sitting in the refrigerator section, canned versions keep it simple. Just coconut and water. No gums, no thickeners, no weird additives you can't pronounce. Need to make a curry creamy? Coconut milk. Want richer mashed potatoes without dairy? Coconut milk. Soup needs more body? You guessed it. One warning, though. Once opened, you've got about a week before it goes bad. So unless you're cooking for a crowd, grab the smaller cans. Speaking of smart substitutes, the next item might surprise you. Pure canned pumpkin might be the most underrated health food sitting in your pantry right now. 1 cup delivers about 7 grams of fiber. That's more than 3 times what you'd get from a cup of broccoli. And broccoli is supposed to be the fiber king. Here's something that'll make you question everything. Libby's controls 85% of the entire canned pumpkin market. But the pumpkin they use isn't really pumpkin. It's a proprietary variety called Dickinson pumpkin, which is technically closer to butternut squash. The FDA allows this because the botanical definitions get weird. Nobody seems to care because it tastes better anyway. Now, my secret weapon during breakfast? Stirring half a can into oatmeal. You get vitamins A and C without any added sugar. Most people assume pumpkin only belongs in pie. Those people are missing out. But timing matters here. Costco sells organic canned pumpkin for about $4 per 2-pack during autumn. Wait until November, though, and good luck finding any. The great pumpkin shortage happens almost every single year, like clockwork. Stock up in September. Bakers discovered something clever decades ago. Half a cup of pumpkin puree replaces oil in brownies and muffins. You cut fat while adding moisture and nutrients. Your guests won't taste the difference. I've tested this theory multiple times. Beyond desserts, pumpkin thickens soups and pasta sauces with subtle sweetness. Most people can't even identify what's making everything taste richer. Speaking of things that taste sweeter than expected, wait until you hear why canned corn beats fresh off the cob. Sweet corn has a dirty little secret. The moment it's picked, the clock starts ticking. Within 24 hours, fresh corn loses up to 50% of its sugar content. Those enzymes just keep working, converting sweetness into bland starch, while the corn sits on a truck somewhere between Iowa and your grocery store. Canned corn? It's processed within hours of harvest. Del Monte and Green Giant flash heat their kernels immediately, stopping those sugar-stealing enzymes dead in their tracks. So yeah, that can on your shelf often tastes sweeter than the fresh ear you paid 3 times more for. Funny how that works. Now, here's something that blew my mind. Creamed corn contains 0 cream. None. The thick, milky texture comes entirely from pulping some kernels and mixing them with their own starchy liquid. I spent years thinking there was dairy in there. Nope. Aldi's Happy Harvest brand runs about 50 cents per can. 50 cents! And they use the same non-BPA lined cans as brands charging double. Your wallet will thank you. What can you actually do with it? Toss drained corn into salads for instant crunch. Fold it into cornbread batter. Stir it into salsa for sweetness that balances the heat. One 15-ounce can delivers about 10% of your daily fiber and contains lutein, which supports eye health as you age. Not bad for something most people consider just a side dish. But speaking of sides that don't get enough respect, the next item on our list might surprise you. Green beans might be the most underrated vegetable in the canned food aisle. Everyone walks right past them, heading for the exciting stuff. Big mistake. Here's something most people don't realize. French-style green beans are cut lengthwise, not into chunks. That thin cut means they absorb seasonings way better and cook in half the time. Game changer for weeknight dinners. Now, fresh vegetable fans love to trash canned options. But here's the twist. The blanching process before canning actually preserves vitamin C better than fresh green beans sitting in your fridge for more than 3 days. That fresh produce you bought last week? Probably less nutritious than the can that's been on your shelf for 6 months. Walmart's great value. Cut green beans run about 58 cents per can. And get this, they're processed in the exact same facilities as brands charging double. You're literally paying extra for a fancier label. My grandmother had a trick I still use today. Add a splash of vinegar or lemon juice right before serving. It restores the brightness that canning removes. Simple fix that makes a huge difference. And speaking of grandmothers, here's some fun history. Green bean casserole became a Thanksgiving staple in 1955. A Campbell's Soup employee invented it specifically to sell more cream of mushroom soup. Marketing genius disguised as tradition. Low-sodium versions taste nearly identical once you drain and rinse them. Perfect for anyone watching their salt. But if you think green beans are filling, wait until you meet the next bean on this list. Aquafaba. That's the fancy name for the liquid sitting in your can of chickpeas. Most people dump it down the drain without a second thought. Big mistake. This goopy water whips into stiff peaks just like egg whites. Vegans use it for meringues. Bartenders use it for cocktail foam, and you've been throwing it away for years. But the chickpeas themselves? Even better. Drain them. Toss them on a baking sheet. Hit them with some olive oil and salt. Then roast at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. What comes out rivals any bag of chips you've ever opened. Crunchy, salty, and you can pretend it's healthy because technically it is. One can delivers about 12 grams of protein and 10 grams of fiber. That combination keeps you full for hours. Your stomach won't start growling during that afternoon meeting. Price-wise, Goya runs about $1.50 at most grocery stores. Aldi's Dakota brand? Around 89 cents for the same amount. Your wallet barely notices. Here's something the hummus industry doesn't want you to know. Making it at home requires exactly 5 ingredients: chickpeas, tahini, lemon, garlic, olive oil. Throw them in a blender. Done. You just made what costs $8 at the store for about $2.50. And unlike other canned beans that turn mushy, chickpeas hold their shape. They've got backbone. Perfect for salads, grain bowls, anything where texture actually matters. Speaking of versatility, the next item on our list transforms into something most people assume requires fresh dairy. Evaporated milk might be the most underrated can in your entire pantry. Here's what happens. They take regular milk, heat it until 60% of the water evaporates, then seal it in a can. That's it. No weird chemicals, no mystery ingredients, just concentrated milk that sits on your shelf for up to 2 years without refrigeration. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mix it with equal parts water, and you've got regular milk again. Perfect for when you run out at the worst possible moment. You know, like when you're halfway through making pancakes on a Sunday morning and the fridge betrays you. But using it as plain milk replacement? That's amateur hour. The real trick is using it straight. Those mashed potatoes at fancy restaurants that taste impossibly creamy? Evaporated milk. It's their not-so-secret secret. The concentrated proteins create a silkiness that regular milk simply cannot match. And unlike its sweeter cousin, condensed milk, there's zero added sugar here. So it works in savory dishes, too. Mac and cheese, cream soups, scrambled eggs that come out ridiculously fluffy. Carnation basically owns this market, but Walmart's Great Value version runs about $1.30 compared to $2 for the name brand. Same product, different label. My grandmother kept 6 cans in her pantry at all times, called it her emergency milk fund. Smart woman. Speaking of smart moves, there's another pantry staple that small fish fans have sworn by for generations. And it packs more nutrition than almost anything else in a can. Sardines might be the most underrated food in any grocery store. And I get it. The name alone makes people scrunch up their faces like they just smelled something bad. But here's what most people don't realize. These tiny fish are one of the only foods on the planet containing both vitamin D and calcium together. That combination matters because your body needs vitamin D to actually absorb calcium. Most foods give you one or the other. Sardines hand you both in one bite. Now, the mercury thing. You know how everyone worries about eating too much fish? Sardines sit so low on the food chain that they barely accumulate any mercury at all. We're talking virtually none. You could eat these every single day without a second thought. The bones freak people out. I'll admit, my first time eating sardines, I picked around them like a picky toddler. Huge mistake. Those soft little bones provide about 35% of your daily calcium needs. More than the fish flesh itself. King Oscar sardines at Target run around $4 per tin. Trader Joe's sells theirs for $2.29. Comparable quality. Nearly half the price. One tip that changed everything for me: always go for olive oil packed, not water packed. The water packed ones can get mushy and sad. The olive oil versions taste richer and hold their texture way better. Portugal and Morocco still hand-pack most of the world's sardines using methods unchanged for over a century. Speaking of old-school foods that deserve more respect, pineapple performs a magic trick most people never notice. fresh pineapple contains bromelain, an enzyme so powerful it literally digests meat. That's why your mouth feels weird after eating too much of it. The enzyme is breaking down your tongue. Delicious, right? Here's where canning becomes weirdly essential. Heat destroys bromelain completely. So while fresh pineapple will ruin your Jell-O salad by preventing it from setting, canned pineapple works perfectly. Your grandmother knew this. She probably never explained why. Dole and Del Monte race against time with this fruit. They process pineapples within 24 hours of harvest in Hawaii and Thailand, capturing sweetness at the exact moment it peaks. Fresh pineapples shipped across oceans? They're picked unripe and never develop the same sugar content. Budget-wise, Dollar Tree sells 8-ounce cans for $1.25. Try finding any other fruit that cheap. But crushed pineapple isn't just for desserts. Mix it into homemade barbecue sauce or teriyaki for natural sweetness without dumping in refined sugar. The crushed texture disappears into sauces while the flavor punches through. I've been doing this for years, and people always ask what my secret ingredient is. Want a snack that tastes like cheating but isn't? Stir 1 can into cottage cheese or yogurt. High protein, actually filling, tastes like dessert. My doctor would approve, and that's saying something. Now, pineapple makes things sweet. But what makes savory dishes creamy without any effort? There's one can that built its entire reputation on casseroles. Campbell's cream of mushroom soup isn't just a pantry item. It's basically the duct tape of American cooking. Seriously, this humble can appears in more casserole recipes than any other ingredient in the country. Green bean casserole, cream of mushroom. Tuna noodle, cream of mushroom. That mystery dish your aunt brings to every holiday? You guessed it. Here's why it works so well. One can mixed with a splash of milk transforms into an instant sauce. No standing over the stove whisking flour and butter. No culinary degree required. Just open, pour, stir, done. My grandmother used this stuff like it was going out of style. And honestly, her chicken and rice casserole still beats anything I've had at fancy restaurants. Now, for those watching their sodium, Aldi's Fit and Active version runs about 79 cents and cuts the salt by 40%. Your blood pressure will thank you, and your taste buds won't know the difference once it's mixed into a recipe. The 98% fat-free versions work just as well in casseroles where other ingredients share the spotlight. Save the full fat stuff for when the soup is the star. Want something fancier? Pacific Foods makes an organic version with actual cream and real mushroom pieces you can identify. Costs about $3.50 at Target, but sometimes you want to feel sophisticated. And here's a party trick. Mix cream of mushroom with sour cream and shredded cheese. That dip will vanish faster than your uncle's fishing stories make sense. Speaking of canned fruit that pulls its weight, Mandarin oranges are the canned fruit that actually makes sense. Here's something most people get wrong. They assume the segments are peeled using harsh chemicals. Nope. It's just a mild citric acid bath. Basically the same stuff already in the oranges themselves. The internet loves a good scare story, but this one falls apart under any real scrutiny. Now for the good news. These little segments keep their vitamin C remarkably well through the canning process. The juice they're packed in prevents oxidation, which is the same enemy that destroys nutrients in fresh fruit sitting on your counter for a week. But here's where you save real money. Walmart's Great Value brand costs around 88 cents per can. The Dole version? $1.50 for the exact same fruit. Same sweetness. Same texture. Different label. Your wallet knows which one makes sense. And please, for the love of your waistline, Grab the ones packed in 100% juice instead of heavy syrup. You'll cut the sugar content by about 40% without noticing any difference in taste. Want a snack that'll impress your grandkids? Drain a can, spread the segments on a baking sheet, and freeze them for 2 hours. They turn into tiny sorbet bites. Healthy, refreshing, gone in minutes. Toss them on a spinach salad with almonds and poppy seed dressing, and suddenly you're eating something that looks like it costs $14 at a restaurant. These 15 canned foods won't just save you money, they'll make your pantry actually useful.